Hi everyone, so we've made it to the final week before the summer term, so well done to all of you that have been working really hard. So today's lesson is going to be a bit of puzzle solving, and this is going to be an introduction to what's called KenKen. KenKen is some puzzles that look like the ones that are on the screen now, and we're going to look at how to solve those. And there'll be an option to either use the worksheets and the videos that I've set to know how to do these, or you can work mainly online to solve these puzzles, so there is a bit of a choice for you to make today. First of all, I would like you to pause this and go on to show my homework and watch this video, so learning KenKen in under 2 minutes. So below is just an image of what their website looks like. So if you need to go for basic instructions, tutorials and solving tips, there's a link to the website at the top, how to solve, and on the left there's a list of things in grey, so basic instructions, how to play online, tutorial beginner, solving tips and all the instructions. So if you need to go back at any point, it's really useful to know that that's there. Okay, so how to play KenKen. You may have watched the videos. I'm going to give some instructions as well. So your goal is to fill in the whole grid with numbers, making sure that no number is repeated in any row or any column. You might think this is a bit like Sudoku if you've played that. It is similar, but there are some twists to it that make it slightly different. So if you're good at Sudoku, you might be quite good at this. If you've got no idea, that's fine. All I want you to do is have a go. So in a 3x3 grid like this, you can only use numbers 1 to 3. In a 4x grid, numbers 1 to 4, etc. What we have are some heavily outlined areas in our KenKen grid, and these are called cages. So this particular puzzle has 5 cages. Let's just look, the heavily dark areas, these are called cages. Okay, so the top left number in each corner of those cages is a target number, and it has a mathematical operation. So in the top left corner of this grid we've got a 5+, and that means the numbers in that cage, in that dark outlined bit, have to add together to make 5. You might get other mathematical operations that have got minus, times or divide. That means the two numbers in that cage would need to multiply together to make 5 or divide to make 5, etc. So that's your mathematical operation. Okay, so in this cage, in the top left, the mathematical operation is addition. Since there are only 2 squares in this cage, there are only a few possibilities that can go in here. Remember, we can only use numbers 1, 2 or 3. So it doesn't matter particularly what order at the moment, so you could have 2 and 3, 3 and 2, and those are basically the only numbers that will add together to make 5. So what's quite useful when you're trying to start these is knowing that when you've got a cage that has only one number in it, this is what's called a freebie. These are really useful because you just put the number that's in it. So our freebie here, bottom right, is 3. You just put 3 straight into that one, and then you've got a number that you can use to reduce possibilities in the other cages, in the other boxes. Okay, so really important, a number cannot be repeated within the same row or the same column. So if we had 3, which we'd have to have in the bottom right, we cannot then have 3 in that same row. Again, the numbers would have to be 2 and 1. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just talk you through how I would fill out one of these. So first of all, this one here is quite useful. This is our freebie. Remember, it's cage, the sort of dark black outline around it means it's only a 1x1 square, and it has to add to 3. So that number there has to be 3. So I'm going to fill that in first of all. So the next thing you need to do is pick a different cage to work on, and I've highlighted in the top right this 3+ here. So I'm going to think about combinations of numbers that would add together to make 3, bearing in mind that I cannot have another 3 in this column because in the bottom right I've already filled in a 3. So the combinations I can have are 3 = 1 + 2, or 3 equals 2 plus 1. Now, there'll be some points where you have to make a decision, and for now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to put 2 and I'm going to put 1 here, and I might change them if this doesn't work later as I start working around, but for now I'm going to put 2 and 1 in that particular order and try and use that to solve the rest of the puzzle. Now the next section that I'm going to look at is this top left where I've got 5 plus. Now when I come to look at possible combinations to make 5, bearing in mind because it's a 3 by 3 grid, the only numbers I can use are 1, 2 and 3. The fact that I have this 2 in this row here makes it a little bit tricky. So 5 I can make by adding together 3 and 2 or 2 and 3. So I would then have to go back and look at this column that I filled in and think, actually, because I can't have another 2 in this row here, I can only have 1, I'm going to have to change the order of things in this third column. So I'm just going to rub those out. I'm going to rub out my 2 and 1 in the third column and write them the other order. Now to help myself, what I've done on the right hand side now is write out possible combinations to make 5 and possible combinations to make 4 as well. So to make 5 I can have either, this could be a 3 or a 2, and this could be a 3 or a 2. Now if I look at this bit here, this 4 can be made by adding 1 and 3 or 3 and 1. So what that means is the numbers in these boxes have to either be 3 and 1 in a particular order. So that means we don't want this one to be a 3 and this has to be a 2. And then this is going to have to be a 3 because this box has to add up to 5. And this means in this box here that we can have 3 and 1 and it's not going to interfere with our rules of our columns. Okay. So really important that we're remembering our rules. We need to think about this row here. So 4 comprises of 3 and 1, but we already have a 3 in this bottom row. So therefore, this number here has to be 1, because we said in this cage, the numbers have to be 3 and 1. So that has to be 1, this has to be 3, and that makes the rest of our diagram a lot easier to fill out. So now if you look at the gaps and what's left, we've got this single cage that is 3 plus. In this row here, we have 3 and we have 2, which means the number between has to be 1. And in this final row, on the bottom, we have numbers 1 and 3 already, which means this number here has to be 2. And we can just check that this cage here adds up to 3. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Therefore, we've solved the puzzle. So you can see it's not necessarily very easy or very clean to solve these, and you may end up rubbing things out and trying out different combinations. That's absolutely fine, and that's part of playing these puzzles. Okay, we're going to do another example. Okay, so in example 2, we're going to go through this in exactly the same way. So first of all, I'm going to look for my freebies. So we've got freebie here, which is a 1 by 1 cage. It has to add to 2, so I can just fill in 2 straight away. In the bottom right, I've got a 1 by 1 cage which has to add to 3, and we can just fill in 3 straight away. So in this particular example, we've got 2 freebies. They're always a great place to start to help you solve these puzzles. Okay, so you could pick anywhere else to start. What we need to remember is the only numbers we can use in our 3 by 3 grid are 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so we might start here. In this cage, our numbers have to add up to 3, so we're going to look for ways to add numbers to 3. Okay, so we can have 2 plus 1 or 1 plus 2. I've written in the top of those boxes for now. They can be 1 or 2, 1 or 2. Now in this row, we already have a 2, so this one has to be 1, and that means that has to be 2, and then we've dealt with that particular cage. 2 plus 1 adds together to make 3. Now, taking a step back, if we look at this particular row here, we can now see there are already 2 numbers filled in. So because our numbers have to be 1, 2 and 3 in our rows and our columns, this number has to be 3. So I'm just going to fill that in straight away, even though I'm not necessarily working on this cage next. So I'm then going to work on the cage in the top left. Now to make 4, it's 1 plus 3 or 3 plus 1. In this column, we've already got a 3, which means this has to be a 1. And so this has to be a 3. And if we look at this row, we've got 1, 3, 2, so nothing's repeated. Okay, so going back to this column here, we've got 1, 3, which means this number has to be 2, so that this column works. And then if we look at this row here, we've got 3 and 2, which means this number has to be 1. Now, because I haven't specifically been targeting 6, I will then just check that this L-shaped cage adds up to 6. So 3 plus 2 is 5, plus another 1 is 6. Therefore, that works, and we can just check those, and your puzzle is done. Okay, so if you want some practice going over what we've just done, either you can go to this kenkenpuzzle.com/play now, and you can crack on with puzzles there. You can pick your level of difficulty, or you can have a go at these 4 puzzles on here. If you're doing that, just pause the video now so you can have a go at them. Okay, and the answers to those puzzles are up here if you weren't able to play online. So if you want some more practice now, what I would say is go back to Show My Homework and download the KenKen worksheets. There are lots of different options, 3x3, 4x4 and 5x5. You can sort of navigate through and pick your puzzles as you feel fit. Enjoy!